I am 82 years old. I have been smoking for 60 years. Clean lungs, normal blood pressure, clear head. My granddaughter asks me every time, half joking, "Grandpa, what is your secret?" And then adds right away, "But please just quit smoking already. It is going to kill you." She does not smoke. She does yoga drinks, smoothies, avoids GMOs, and at 31, she is already on medication for anxiety. Here's the list of what is actually worth quitting, the things that kill you for real. That is what I want to talk about. The cigarette just burns. My name is Bernard. I was born in 1942 in a small town in rural Georgia. My father worked construction. My mother kept the house, the garden, and somehow kept 6 children alive. I worked as an engineer, then a project manager, then started my own small contracting business. I buried my wife, survived the recession of 2008, raised 2 kids, and lived to see 4 grandchildren. Julie is the youngest and the loudest. She is a good person. She just lives in a world where the number one threat to your health is a cigarette. I lived in a different world, and I know a few things about threats that do not come printed on a pack. I started smoking at 20, 2 construction sites, a crew of men, everyone smoked. I was not thinking about lungs or cancer. I was thinking about deadlines, about a foreman on the next job stealing materials and how to prove it. A cigarette was just a pause. 5 minutes where you did not have to think about anything important. I would smoke and look at the sky. It was the only thing close to meditation I knew. 60 years later, I still smoke, and I still look at the sky sometimes. But that is not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about what I quit. The things that do not come with a warning label. The things that sit inside you quietly and grind you down for years, slowly, invisibly, without cough or shortness of breath. You just turn around one day and realize that half your life went to something that was never feeding you. Here is my list. 1 work you hate. I was 38 years old. I was working at a large firm as a department head. Good title, steady, paycheck respected by colleagues. And every single morning, I woke up with a feeling that is hard to describe in words. Not tiredness, not fear, something dull and heavy right behind the sternum. Like my body knew before my mind did that the day was going to be wasted. I worked there for 11 years. 11 years of that feeling every morning. I told myself that is just how it is, that work is not supposed to feel good. That good is what happens after work, on weekends, on vacation. Then I left. Not easily, not overnight, but I left. And that dull feeling behind the sternum disappeared. Not immediately, but it disappeared. You know how many hours the average person spends at work over a lifetime? Around 90,000 hours. 90,000 hours. If most of those are spent in a state of quiet desperation that is not just unpleasant. That is poison, slow, chronic, odorless. Nicotine clears your system in a few days. Years of work you hate never fully clear. 2 people who take more than they give. I had a friend, I will call him Gary. We had known each other since our Army days, more than 20 years. He was sharp funny, could tell a story that had the whole table doubled over. And every single time I left his company, I felt drained. Not physically, like someone had turned down the brightness on everything around me. He always came with a problem, always needed advice money. He would borrow and not return someone to listen. I listened. I gave advice. I gave money. I told myself that is what friendship is. That a real friend shows up when things are hard. At 53, I stopped returning his calls. No confrontation. I just stopped. At first it felt wrong. Then it felt lighter. Then I realized I did not miss him. There are people who run on your energy. They do not do it on purpose. They are just built that way. And around them you are always a little less than you are without them. That is not friendship. That is habit. And habits can be quit. 3 other people's opinions as a compass. I was 45 when I wanted to start my own business. Small construction contracts. I knew the field inside out. I told my brother. He said the timing was bad. I told my father-in-law. He said it was too risky. I told a colleague at work. He said I probably did not have what it took. I waited 3 more years. 3 years collecting other people's opinions instead of doing anything. Then I started the business. It worked. Those 3 years I will never get back. Someone else's opinion is not a compass. It is their fear living inside your head. People do not tell you what they think about you. They tell you what they think about themselves. About their own risks, their own failures, their own reasons not to try. You listen and think you are getting advice. What you are actually getting is someone else's cowardice wrapped up in concern. Subscribe and hit like right now. What comes next is the hardest part of the list. The things that are quietest and take the longest to kill you. And the one I quit last of all. 4. The idea that it is not time yet. This is the most dangerous one on the list because it always sounds reasonable. Once this project wraps up, once the kids are older, once I save a little more, once things calm down, then I will start living the way I actually want to. I knew a man, I will call him Robert. He worked in our office as a project coordinator. Careful, methodical, spent his whole career talking about the road trip he was going to take out west once he retired. He would say, once I retire, I will drive the whole Pacific Coast Highway. He retired, his wife got sick. He said, once she gets better, we will go together. She got better, he had a stroke. He died at 74 without ever making that drive. I was at his funeral thinking one thing. The Pacific Coast Highway is still there. Robert is not. The idea that it is not time yet is not caution. It is fear that learned to speak in the voice of common sense. The timing is never perfect. Perfect timing does not exist. There is only the time that exists right now. 5, resentment as background noise. This one was hard for me to quit. I will be honest about that. I was good at holding grudges, not loudly, not with arguments, quietly inside. I would accumulate them. My wife said something that landed wrong, and I would go silent, but keep it. A business partner acted dishonestly. I handled the situation, but something stayed inside. A supervisor passed me over for a promotion back in '83 that I deserved. I carried that for 20 years. At 61, I had a minor heart attack. Minor, the doctor said I was lucky. I lay in the hospital for 3 days and thought, not about work, not about money. I thought about how much space inside me was occupied by people and situations that had long since left my life. That supervisor retired in the 90s, but his injustice was still living in me 6 years after he was gone. I made one simple decision lying there. Resentment is when you drink poison and wait for the other person to get sick. The other person does not get sick. You do. I did not become a saint. I just stopped storing other people's behavior inside myself longer than it deserved. That turned out to be more useful than any diet I ever tried. 6, measuring yourself against other people. When I was young, I compared myself constantly. That guy got promoted faster. This one earns more. His house is bigger. I watched other people's lives and used them to measure my own. It was a constant low-grade pain. Not sharp, not obvious, but always there. One day I understood something simple. When you look at someone else's life from the outside, you only see what they are showing you. You are comparing your inside to their outside. The comparison is always a loss. Always. The man with the bigger house was drinking heavily. The one who got promoted faster had a marriage that was falling apart. I did not take pleasure in their problems. I just realized that other people's lives are not a useful measuring stick for your own. Since then, I have measured myself against one thing. Only am I better than I was yesterday. That is the only comparison that means anything. 7, the fear of looking weak. This is the last thing I quit. I was almost 70. I am not proud of how long it took. I did not know how to ask for help. Did not know how to say I was not doing well. Did not know how to tell my wife I was exhausted and just needed to sit quietly next to her without solving any problems. I believed a man was supposed to handle things, that admitting weakness meant losing respect. After that heart attack, my wife came to sit with me in the hospital. She sat next to me and held my hand. I started crying, just like that, for no specific reason. From exhaustion, from relief at being alive. I had not cried in maybe 40 years. I tried to stop myself. She said, "Do not, it is all right." I cried. She held my hand. After that, I felt better. Not from the medication, from that. The fear of looking weak is not strength. It is armor that does not let anything through. Not pain outward, not warmth inward. A man in armor is protected and alone. Julie says the cigarette is going to kill me. Maybe. I do not know what is going to kill me. Nobody does. But I know what has not killed me. I quit work. I hated. Quit people who drained me. Stop living by other people's opinions. Stop putting life off until the timing was better. Let go of resentments that outlived the people who caused them. Stopped measuring myself against other people's lives and gave myself permission to be a living human being instead of a structure built from rules about how a man is supposed to be. That is what I quit. That is what changed everything. The cigarette just burns. I am 82 years old. I sit on the porch in the evening smoke and look at the sky. Julie calls every Sunday. We talk for a long time. She tells me about work. I listen. Sometimes she brings up the cigarettes again. I laugh. She laughs too. This is a good life, a genuinely good life. Not because I quit smoking, because I quit everything else while there was still time. Subscribe. More stories like this one come out here. Real ones, no gloss. One like helps these words reach the people who need them right now. Maybe they reached you in time.